Good evening, everyone. Clearly, we have a quorum because that only requires 100 people, and we're in excess of that. So I am calling to order the May 13th, 2025 Middleton Annual Town Meeting. I am Barbara Pacelli, your town moderator, and with me is I hope I don't lose my voice or you're all in trouble. Eileen Twist, our town clerk. Ms. Twist has informed me that the warrant has been duly posted and published, and as usual, the warrant reading and the return is hereby waived. Just a reminder that now would be a good time to silence your cell phones, and please be advised that this meeting is being audio and video recorded. I invite you now to all rise with me and join Scout Troop 19 in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Color guards to your post. Will everyone please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Color guard, you are dismissed.
Thank you, Scouts. Great job, as always. It's a pleasure to have you with us at every meeting. Before we begin, we're going to do some introductions. I think Representative Cairns is here. I saw her a couple of minutes ago. Where is she? In the back. Thank you so much for coming and for your support of our town. We appreciate it. And I usually introduce the boards on my left and right, but this time I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves, starting with the Select Board and our chair.
Chairman, Richard Cassiotis. Member Brian Cresta.
Debbie Carboni.
Member Jeffrey Garber.
Casa Patakis.
And the staff that's at the table as well, please.
Justin Saltzback, Town Administrator.
Sometimes it's nice to actually have the faces that go with the names. And on my right, our Finance Committee.
I'm John Erickson. Richard Gregory.
Michelle Preston. Tony Mertz.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to listen to me for a few minutes, and I know you've heard me say many of these things before, and I try to change it up, but the rules are the rules, so it's hard to make them that different from meeting to meeting, so I'm going to ask you to indulge me for a couple of minutes. Tonight's warrant has 23 articles for your consideration. We are going to take them in the order listed in the warrant, pulling out any that might be resolved by a consent agenda, and I will talk about consent agendas in a couple of minutes. You are going to recognize some of these articles. They're very similar to the articles that you see from year to year in our annual warrant. I hope that everybody that's present here this afternoon, or this evening rather, feels welcome. And I encourage everyone that's a voter to participate in tonight's meeting if you choose to do so. Please keep in mind, if you decide that you would like to participate, that you cannot speak at town meeting unless I recognize you to do so. As is our practice, if you do want to speak on any article, all you need to do is step up to one of the three, are there three? I don't see the third one over there. Oh yeah, I see it. 3 microphones, and they're numbered 1, 2, 3, and wait for me to call on you. Once I call on you, introduce yourself and also provide your address. Once you start speaking, I would ask that you limit your remarks to around 2 minutes. And we have our wonderful Mrs. Prentakis here in the front row who's going to be keeping time for us. So again, about 2 minutes. The people that are presenting on any given article are being given a little more time, and they have all been individually spoken to about that, and they know what those limitations are. They're around 4 or 5 minutes. If you are speaking on an article, it's important that you focus your comments on the scope or purpose of the article and the motion. As always, I am going to limit any comments that go beyond the scope and get too far off topic or become repetitious in terms of what other voters have said. Please speak to me as the moderator and do not address your comments personally to anybody else. Now, this evening I have already received several motions for amendments in advance. If anyone else is considering a motion, please be reminded that it has to be submitted in writing, and we will recess the meeting in order for the motion to be reviewed by our legal counsel. We have a number of articles on tonight's warrant that will require more than a simple majority vote. It is my hope during every meeting that we can resolve most articles by a voice vote. However, because the loudest voices do not always mean the most votes, please keep your cards ready in case I have to call for a hand count. And I need to emphasize, and I'm directing this to all of you standing up along the back, that it's important for everybody to be seated at all times to ensure that all votes are heard, seen, and fairly counted. Thank you. Now let's talk about consent agendas. Where is Ms. Bresnahan? There she is, right in the front. As you can see on the screen behind me, there is something labeled consent agendas. Those of you who come regularly to town meeting know that we have been using consent agendas quite successfully over the past few years. And we have received a lot of very positive feedback about their use. Consent agendas make town meeting more efficient by grouping together routine and non-controversial articles. Articles that are placed on a consent agenda are considered for approval in a single vote without any discussion. The consent agenda I have prepared for tonight's meeting includes 9 articles. We are going to take that up now, and then we're going to move right into the warrant, beginning with Article 1. I am going to announce each article's number and a brief subject matter. If 7 members of the meeting raise their cards to say hold on any given article after I read it, I will remove that article from the consent agenda, and it will be considered during the usual course of town meeting. Article 9 funds the Community Preservation FY26 budget. Article 10 funds new community preservation projects for FY 2026. Article 11 authorizes revolving fund spending limits. Article 12 funds the Southern Essex Sewer District Enterprise budget. Article 13 funds the Water Enterprise budget. Article 14 allows the town to accept earnings from MELD to reduce our taxes. Article 15 transfers funds to reserve accounts. Article 18 appropriates $25,000 for litigation expenses related to the town's non-compliance with MBTA zoning. Can the people that are holding up their cards stand, please? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thank you. Be seated. It will not be removed from the consent agenda. Article 19 appropriates $15,000 for the Middleton 300th Anniversary Committee. All in favor of the consent agenda as I have read it? Say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The consent agenda containing 9 articles passes unanimously. Sorry, I was too anxious. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, nay. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Cresta. I was just so excited. All right, on to Article 1, which provides us with an opportunity to hear committee reports. And I believe we will start first with a report from the Building Committee. Mr. Renaud. And thank you, Madam Clerk, for that catch, always on top of things.
Good evening, Madam Moderator. Bill Renaud, 19 Park Ave, Chair of the Building Committee. On behalf of the Building Committee, I'm happy to report to the town meeting today that the municipal complex remains on schedule for a winter 2026 occupancy, and more importantly, well under the project budget. When I was here back in the fall of 2023 requesting supplemental funding, I highlighted that a large portion of that request was for project contingency. To date, the project has only needed 0.5% of contingency funds, and we are more than $4 million under budget. As we pass the halfway point of the construction of the project, I remain optimistic that we will continue to build on that project savings through the project completion. I'd like to thank the hard work of the Building Committee members, Vice Chair Nick Benugli, members Paul Armitage, Kyle Smith, and Frank Twiss, as well as the town staff that's been supporting the committee, owners, project managers, PCA 360, Context Architecture, and WT Rich, our contractor, as we all work hard to deliver this important project to the town. If you'd like to follow up on the project or look for any additional information, you can find that at our website, which is middleton-mmc.com. We have kind of time-lapse videos so you can watch the construction, monthly project reports, and things of that nature. So, thank you.
You've never been so brief. We have one more report on the anticipated, what is it? You're going to tell us, the 300th anniversary celebration.
I'm going to tell them.
You're going to tell us. It's a
How many people
surprise.
here? When was Middleton established? Anybody here know? 1728, very good. Middleton was established in 1728, so that means in the year 2028, Middleton has its 300th anniversary. It's an important one for us because no doubt nobody around was here for the 200th, and more than likely not for the 300th company, for the next 100 years after, sorry. So, Town of Middleton will be celebrating 300 years this coming 2028, and we're looking, the Middleton 300th Committee is looking for volunteers. So this is a time to reach out to everybody and go ahead and email us and let us know what it is you want to do or your thoughts and ideas. Volunteers requested. We're looking for 9 volunteers specifically to lead the planning and execution of the 300th celebration for Middleton. Volunteer commitment will be to develop and execute fundraising strategies, plan and coordinate series of events to commemorate Middleton's heritage, develop master calendar of events, and marketing materials to raise awareness. Community involvement opportunities also exist to conduct community outreach for suggested events, partner with the community to come up with ideas that appeal to all ages for participation, and support community organizations to host events highlighting their mission that connect with the town's history. Please submit a talent bank application by May 29th, this month, 2025, and you can just submit that by contacting Town Hall and or visit us online, and you can take care of that. So thank you very much. It's something that we'll all have to look forward to. Also, the item is also in your booklet tonight, number 19, and it is part of this evening's consent agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Article 2 authorizes the payment of bills from prior fiscal years. This requires a 4/5 majority vote. Finance Committee?
I move and the Finance Committee recommends that the town transfer from free cash the sum of $10,772.99 to be used to fund prior year bills.
Any questions or discussion on this article? Hearing none, we're going to take a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. I don't need a second from FinCom moving. The motion passes by an overwhelming majority. I think I heard one nay. Clearly a 4/5 majority. Article 3 funds the snow and ice deficit. I've been informed there is no deficit, so we're passing over that article and moving right on to Article 4. Finance Committee. This article sets the salaries for town's elected officials.
Richard Gregorio, 29 Peasy Circle. I move and the Finance Committee recommends the town set the compensation of elected officials pursuant to the Mass General Law 41, Section 108. All as shown on the compensation plan table A as printed on pages 47 to 49 of the town meeting warrant.
Any questions or discussion on this matter? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. What are we on, 5? Article 5 funds our operating budget for the next fiscal year. Those of you who come to annual town meeting know my practice is not to read the annual budget line by line. You've had it available for several weeks. Instead, I am going to open the entire budget up for comment after the motion is made. Finance Committee.
Good evening, I'm John Erickson, 19 Campbell Road. I move and the Finance Committee recommends that the town appropriate the sum of $48,322,467 to fund the omnibus budget for fiscal year 2026, and that to meet this appropriation, $47,240,536 be raised and appropriated, taxation, local receipts, and state aid. $700,000 be transferred from the ambulance fund. $104,128 be transferred from the enterprise fund. $144,658 be transferred from the PEG cable fund, and $133,145 be transferred from the Special Education Stabilization Fund. Thank you.
Are there any questions, comments, or discussion on Article 5? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion on the omnibus budget passes unanimously. Article 6 funds a public safety operating budget override. Finance Committee.
Tom Martinook, 17 Park Ave. I move and the Finance Committee recommends that the town raise and appropriate the sum of $975,000 to fund the following in the fiscal year 2026 omnibus budget, contingent upon the passage of a Proposition 2.5 referendum under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C. 3 police department personnel salaries, $278,700. Insurance benefits, equipment, training, certification, taxes, $111,300. 4 fire department personnel salaries, $437,800. Insurance benefits, equipment, training, certifications, taxes, $147,200 for a total of $975,000.
Does anybody want to be heard on Article 6? Mr. Cassiotis.
Cassiotis, 201 Forest Street. Just to give you a brief overview, and I'll have a couple other people speak with you. Article 6 is the public safety override that asks, shall the town of Middleton be allowed to assess an additional $975,000 in real estate and personal property taxes for the purposes of funding public safety expenses for the fiscal year beginning July 1. It contains 4 additional full-time firefighter paramedics at $585,000, which includes salaries, insurance benefits, employee benefits, equipment, training, and commensurate certifications. It also includes the addition of 3 additional full-time police officers at $390,000, also including salaries, insurance benefits, employee benefits, equipment, training, and respective certifications. For this override alone, the tax impact annually for an average single-family home in town is $289 a year. That's 30 cents per 1,000 of value. I'd like to turn it over next to Middleton's Chief of Police, Chief William Sampson.
Good evening. My name is Bill Sampson. I'm the police chief here in Middleton. And the Middleton Police Department this year is asking for 3 additional full-time police officers. The main reason that we're asking for 3 additional full-timers is because part of the police reform in Massachusetts changed the standards of training. And what that did was change the standards for part-time officers now have to attend a full-time police academy. In the past, we could hire part-time people, and they went to a part-time academy, they worked part-time basis, and they would augment the police department's staff. We had up to 10 to 15 part-timers that we could use to backfill, and it was basically a formula that worked for a long time to be able to fully staff the police department. With the loss and the change in the reform, we have lost almost our entire part-time staff. We're down to 2. So what that does is now it forces the full-timers to backfill all the open positions, forced overtime, and it causes, it's not a formula that no longer works. We are unable to backfill those positions or hire new ones because of the training. So they basically phased out part-time officers in the state. So 3 more full-time people would bring us to our staff from 17 to 20. And per the national average, state average, we should be at 20 to 25 full-time officers. So this would just bring us to where we need to be at the minimal end. So we ask for your support tonight, the reasons as I just pointed out. Thank you very much.
Chief.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Doug LaCoste. I am the fire chief. I live at 2 Winterberg Road. So the fire department is asking for 4 additional full-time firefighters. And the reason for that is, the biggest reason, 2 reasons, is difficulty filling shifts and limited callback availability. And I'll get into that in a minute. Our typical shift strength is 5 members, 3 full-time staff and 2 part-time staff. I can tell you that a lot of our part-time staff works full-time, other full-time fire departments, so unfortunately their priority is never going to be Middleton Fire. It's, whatever fire department they work for on a full-time basis. So the 2 things that have made us successful over the years is shift strength and callback. Unfortunately, the part-time staff, their limited availability makes it difficult for us to fill shifts. We go as low as 3 members on duty. Our goal is typically 5 members on duty with a robust callback system, which unfortunately is no longer working. So, like I said, issues with filling shifts. In 2024, 60% of our shifts had less than 5 members on duty. Of that, roughly 20% had only 3 members on duty. And where that gets problematic is if we don't have people coming in from home to staff the second ambulance or cover the ambulance crew if they're transporting to the hospital, we could potentially only have 1 person in the fire station or even nobody in the fire station if everybody's tied up. So that's a problem that we are faced with. So the other issue is callback participation. Last year, 44% of our requests for callback went unanswered. So typically what happens is if the ambulance transports to Beverly Hospital, let's say 2 members go to the hospital, we try to backfill with 2 members. If there's a commercial fire alarm activation, we call back, we ask people to come back to staff the second engine or the ladder truck, and like I said, 44% of those times, those calls for callback went unanswered. Increased hazards, probably the 2 biggest things we're dealing with right now is, the wildland fires. That's not going anywhere. That's going to be a continuous problem. Lithium-ion batteries, that's a problem that's going to get only bigger as we have more electric vehicles on the road. And really the big thing for me is staff burnout. I can tell you that one of my weaknesses as fire chief is the ability to turn off the radio and kind of disconnect from work. And that is a problem, not only for me, but it's a problem for some of my staff that routinely answer the bell or answer the call on a routine basis. Those people need breaks, and when there's not sufficient staffing on duty or available, it just causes those people to come back more and more. So having the ability for those people to disconnect when needed, I think is important. So another problem that we have is simultaneous emergency calls. So last year we had 404 simultaneous calls. So what that means is the ambulance is tied up on a call, we get a second call, or the engine's tied up on a call, we get a second call. That happened 404 times last year. And the problem is that if we only have 3 people on duty and nobody's coming back, there's not sufficient staffing to staff that second ambulance or staff that fire truck if needed. So we're relying on mutual aid resources to answer those second and third calls. The problem there is that the response time goes from 4.5 minutes when handled by in-town personnel to almost 9.5 minutes. So the response time is longer. So the longer the response time, the longer you're going to have to wait for help and so forth. So that's another problem. So what would 4 firefighters accomplish? Would increase our base staffing from 3 members to 4 members around the clock, would allow more consistent staffing, help to ensure faster response times, and less reliance on the part-time staff. Right now we're relying on them for about 336 hours per week. If we can hire more full-time staffing, we won't have to rely on those part-time staff as much as we do now. And also less need to fill these shifts with overtime. So if we can't fill a part-time shift, we do offer it out at overtime. Once again, burnout and so forth. So these 4 positions will help immensely, but unfortunately it's not going to solve the problem. As long as the callback system is broke, there's going to be a problem. And what the answer to that solution, or what the solution is, I'm not 100% sure right now, but I know that, hiring 4 additional full-time firefighters would definitely be a step in the right direction. So, thank you.
Any further comments, questions, or discussion on Article 6? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Article 7, funds an elementary school operating budget override.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michelle Aiken, 12 Old Forest Street, Chair of the Elementary School Committee. I move, and the Elementary School Committee recommends, that the town raise the appropriate sum of $537,276 to fund the fiscal year 2026 omnibus budget, contingent upon the passage of a Proposition 2.5 referendum under the Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C.
Is there a second? Who may? Okay, somebody else. Any questions, comments, or discussion on this article? Do you want to be heard?
I would like to be heard.
Go right ahead.
Okay, I have a short presentation. Okay. I wanted to take a moment and remind everyone what is our why. Why we do what we do with the elementary schools. Our why is for the students. It is to nurture and realize a dynamic learning environment where creative thinkers and innovative problem solvers develop the empathy, resilience, perseverance, self-management, and kindness needed to positively impact the world. We accomplish this in 3 ways. We ignite, we inspire, and we engage. We ignite through innovative teaching practices, cultivate creativity, problem solving, and innovation within our students and staff. We inspire through social emotional well-being, develop, strengthen student self-management, social awareness, self-efficacy, and a growth mindset to be successful. We engage through inclusive practices, recognize, respect, and welcome the individuality of students and staff to embrace new ideas and thinking. Understanding the Middleton Elementary School budget. This budget is our fiscal plan that supports the educational programs and initiatives approved by the school committee. This plan consists of personnel costs, or salaries, educational supplies and equipment, professional development, special education support services, and facilities. Revenue to support the operating budget comes from local appropriation, or taxes, state and federal grants, and revolving funds. This year, the school committee is proposing a level service budget. This means that the services provided to the students this current year will be the same as next year. There have been no reductions or additions. However, we're seeing a higher than anticipated increase to health insurance premiums, out-of-district speculation costs, and transportation, and overall inflation. These increases are the driving factors of the override. The school committee has done some work in getting the override number down. We've reduced 1 classroom. This was based on enrollment, so it will not have an effect on class size. We've done a careful audit of all instructional salaries. We've had some savings from a retirement, and we're putting off updates on technical hardware where we saw it was necessary. After all that, we're still in need of $537,000 in order to maintain level service. The tax impact on this will be roughly $154 per year for a home valued at roughly $900,000. If this override fails, the following will be cut from the budget next year. 3 classroom teachers, 2 special education teachers, a reading teacher, instrumental music, also known as band, will be cut. There will be a 30% reduction in the assistant principal here at Hal Manning. Administrative salaries will be reduced. There will be reduction to instructional aids, and overall consumables or supplies will be reduced. Bottom line is, if the override fails, class sizes will increase and the services to the students will decrease. Thank you.
Microphone 3, could you please introduce yourself and state your address?
Yep, my name is Susan Jones. I live at 16 Perkins Road here in Middleton.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. I have been a Middleton resident for a little over 5 years. I am a mom of 2 boys, a 3rd grader and a 4th grader at Howe Manning, and I also happen to be a 1st grade teacher at Fuller Meadow. I am standing here today to give you just a little of my own insight and to ask for your support in voting yes on the Middleton Schools override. I was not asked by the school to make a statement because I feel since I both work and live here, I do have a unique perspective. As a resident here, I very much feel the financial impact of our community's increased taxes. I also support the board members and elected officials in our town who are working hard to create a sustainable budget so we don't continue to find ourselves in override positions to simply maintain our service. That being said, I just want to share why I support this override despite the financial burden it may place on our community. As someone who has been in education for 15 years, I have had the privilege of teaching 1st grade in 4 different school districts across 2 different states, and I also happen to present at teaching conferences all around the nation and connect regularly with teachers all over the world. And when I tell you that Middleton is special, I truly mean it. Now, the schools here in Middleton are special for many different reasons, but small class sizes are the cornerstone of our district, setting us apart from most others in the nation. In terms of student demographics, those in special ed, English language learners, and students with behavioral and social emotional challenges, my current classrooms closely resemble those I taught in other districts. The key difference isn't who is in the room, it's how many are in the room. The smaller numbers make a tremendous difference in the quality of education and support each and every child receives. Now, because the class sizes are smaller does not mean I work any less. I promise you I work just as hard and work just as many hours as I have in any other district, but the difference is I get to spend more time with each and every student here in Middleton than I have ever been able to in any other district. As anyone knows, having extra time for anything is a true luxury that most just don't have. More time with your children means deeper, more meaningful connections. More time with your children means meeting them exactly where they are, academically, emotionally, and developmentally. More time with your children means being able to challenge students and prepare them for the future. More time with your children is why our state scores are among the best. More time with your children is why highly educated teachers come to stay in this district. And more time with your children is why families from all over choose to make this community their home. Unfortunately, more time with your children is exactly what's on the chopping block for this vote, because section cuts mean more teachers without a job and more students
Ms.
piling-
Jones, could you wrap up?
Yes, into
Thank
each
you.
classroom. I just wanted to say I've had the absolute pleasure of working with every student, and that I want to keep Middleton an amazing place to teach and a more amazing place to live. Thank you.
I would ask that you hold the applause, please, after the speakers. Sandy?
Okay. Hi, Sandy Rupshanuk, 3 Circle Street, and I'd like to give a little different perspective. I'm a senior citizen, I'm retired and on a fixed income, a parent with grown children that attended our public schools, and I was a teacher in the Middleton Public Schools for many, many years. And with this perspective on the school overrides and spending a lot of time looking at everything, I strongly support passing them. I know years ago, Middleton students went to Masconomet with a disadvantage. That is not the case today, and we cannot risk that again. I'm really passionate about this because that was my childhood. Please vote yes to continue the excellent education that our children deserve.
Again, please hold the applause.
Emily LeBlanc-Peroni, 107 Flint Farm Road. Ms. Jones said a lot of what I was going to say, so I'm going to trim it down. I am also a teacher with 15 years of experience, and I wanted to speak about class size specifically, which has been studied extensively since the 1980s, and the findings are universally consistent that students in smaller class sizes do better overall. The ideal ratio is 13 to 17 students per teacher, and Middleton Elementary School, our schools currently have an average of 17 students in a classroom. Students in classes of this size demonstrate substantial academic improvements across all subject areas when compared to students in classes of sizes 22 to 25. Fourth graders in smaller than average class sizes are about a half a year ahead of other fourth graders who are in classes that are 25 or more. Smaller class sizes reduce student loads and positively influence teacher retention. Students in smaller classes experience higher levels of engagement, an increased likelihood of graduating from high school, and an increased likelihood of pursuing higher education. Teachers of small classes spend more time on instruction and less time on classroom management and matters of discipline. And so for this reason, I believe that we should support keeping our class sizes where they currently are. And like a true teacher, I cited all my sources if anybody wants them.
Hi, my name is Laurel Amiri, and I live at 50 North Main Street. I wanted to take a moment to share a little bit about the importance of special education with you. The number of students in special education has doubled over the past 45 years, thanks to reduced stigma, better awareness, and improved diagnostic tools, especially for autism, which saw a nearly 10% jump during the pandemic. More families are actively seeking support for their children, and increased efforts to make schools more inclusive have helped reduce discomfort around receiving a diagnosis and the necessary services for students to receive a free and appropriate public education, which is required by law. Every student in special education deserves an individualized education plan, also called an IEP, that meets their unique needs. But as the number of students with IEPs rises, ongoing teacher shortages are making it harder to provide the services they need. Kids may need IEPs for a wide range of reasons, from significant disabilities to speech therapy, developmental delays, or specific learning disabilities and behavior challenges. These are just a few. When my daughter was very young, we realized she would need extra support as she grew. From the moment we enrolled her in Middleton's public schools, we were met with compassion, dedication, and unwavering support. With their help and an amazing IEP, we saw our daughter begin to thrive in a general education classroom, which is her least restrictive environment, another element of special education that's required by law. She found her voice. She made and continues to make friends, and perhaps most importantly, she was embraced for who she is. No one tried to fix her here. They simply helped her shine. You may not personally have this experience, but I promise you many families in this town do. Your neighbors, your friends, and the care and excellence we've received from Middleton's educators has been nothing short of life-changing. I wish I had time to name every educator who has played a role in my daughter's journey, because every one of them has mattered. We truly don't know where we'd be without them. If we begin cutting the critical resources that support our outstanding schools, the consequences could ultimately be deeply damaging. These reductions would quickly and steadily diminish the quality of our schools and the education of our children, ultimately lowering property values and damaging Middleton's overall reputation. There is even a chance that with the decline in resources, staff, and available services, that we could see more families seeking out-of-district placements.
Can you start wrapping up your time?
Of course, yes.
is up.
Meaning that the short-term tax savings of no vote would ultimately be more expensive in the long run. While broader conversations about how the town plans to handle these cost increases should happen, they're happening everywhere right now, I feel our immediate responsibility as a community is to stand together and protect what really matters most, our kids. That's why I respectfully ask that you please vote yes on the elementary school override today and on May 20th.
Annie Amelia, 7 Bishop Lane. My husband and twin, almost 7-year-olds, moved here 3 years ago, and we moved here specifically for the quality of the education and more specifically for the small class sizes. Since moving here, we have met an amazing group of people who I can't stress that more, and many of them are parents who also moved here for the same reasons we did. My background is in public policy, and education policy researchers do not always agree on everything, but they do agree on one thing: small class sizes matter. Emily cited the STAR study in Tennessee.
I'm going to interrupt you right there. We've heard about class size from a couple of the other speakers. Do you have anything additional to say that we haven't heard?
Really quickly, this would push us over that ideal limit, which you've already heard before, but it's a really, really important point. We would go into the lower performing class sizes if these cuts were to go through. Since moving here, we have been more than happy with the quality of education. Mrs. Jones, who just spoke over there, has been life-changing for one of my kids. Mrs. Provencher, I can't name all of these people, but they have been amazing. They're amazing not only because they're exceptional teachers, but also because they're allowed to be the best teachers they can be because of the small class sizes. So please vote yes on this. Vote yes for the community, for the kids in the community, and if that's not convincing to you, if you own a property in Middleton, it will increase your property values. According to the nonpartisan Bureau of Economic Research, a $1 increase in public school spending increases your property values by $20. So please vote yes on this. Vote yes, May 20th. Everybody has to show up who supports this. Thank you.
I'll be under 30 seconds.
Good, but before I get to you, what's going on in the doorway there? I see people standing outside the doorway. People are blocking the entrance. Please, there are seats down here, there are seats over there. I've already told people that if you're standing, it's going to make it very difficult for any votes to be counted. So please do not block the doorway, do not block that access aisle. There are plenty of seats throughout the gym. Thank you. 30 seconds.
I promise. Kristen Karshus, 4 Warren Drive. I didn't come prepared with anything. I felt compelled listening to you guys. I can affirm as a real estate agent that that is accurate data. I have a son that receives disability services, and both my son and my daughter get to partake in the music program. And I think what I want to do is really talk quickly to the people who are feeling the tax. I get it. I don't want my taxes to go up either. But I think if you can go back to school when you were all in school and remember the kid who really, really struggled and didn't have those services, that is what we'd be taking away from these children. And I can tell you wholeheartedly, there's enough research, and I'm not prepared, so I won't cite, and you can go look it up, Google, very easy, that our business leaders, our industry leaders everywhere, neurodivergence is, I want to say 20% of leadership. It might even be higher, but I'm going to go lower because I don't have it cited. It's everywhere, it's important, and we need to take care of the future leaders. We also moved here for Masco, and I'm asking you to think about the child that you knew, that you sat next to, that struggled. That is my child and so many of the children here, and thank God for Masco. I'm so grateful to all of you. You are incredible. Please, please vote for this. Thank you.
You're getting better about the applause. I appreciate it. All right, I don't see anybody else lined up to speak. So I'm going to put this to a vote. All in favor, we're on Article 7. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion passes by an overwhelming majority. All right, I'll let that one go. Article 8 funds a Masco operating budget override. Is there a motion? Mr. Currier.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Trevor Currier, 135 Forest Street, Vice Chair of the Masconomet Regional School Committee. I move, and the Masconomet Regional School Committee recommends that the town raise and appropriate the sum of $467,194 to fund the fiscal year 2026 omnibus budget contingent upon the passage of a Proposition 2.5 referendum under Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C.
Is there a second? Second. Matt. Would you like to be heard on your motion?
I would. Okay, thank you, Madam Moderator. I'm speaking here tonight on behalf of the Middleton members of the Masconomet Regional School Committee. The members are Kendra Petroni, Matt Alexander, and Lisa McGinnis. And thank you all for coming out here tonight. I want to provide you a brief overview of how we arrived at this point and the significance of your vote tonight and next week. The Masconomet administration initially recommended a level service budget maintaining existing programs and services. This would have resulted in a 9.6% increase in the district's total budget, equating to 6.4% increase in Middleton's assessment, or a $707,000 increase. Recognizing that this was not feasible, the school committee did the hard work. The school committee deliberated for 3 months, engaging with stakeholders, including students, parents, staff, and town officials. We made the difficult decision to reduce our budget by $833,000, which included eliminating 8 staff positions. This adjustment lowered Middleton's assessment increase from the $707,000 number to $467,000, $194, approximately $135 per average household, which is currently evaluated at $962,000. Despite these reductions, we face additional financial pressures that are largely out of the school committee's control. Special education costs have risen by 31%, primarily due to out-of-district tuition and transportation. Out-of-district costs occur when we, as a district, cannot meet a special education student's individual needs within the district, so the student receives their education in an environment that is more conducive to their needs. The school committee not only has a legal obligation to fund out-of-district placements, but also we believe that all students should be learning in an environment that is suitable for them. Additionally, health insurance costs have increased by 15% and dental insurance by 6%. These mandated expenses have left us with no choice but to reduce the one category we do have control over, salaries, which, like I said, we reduced by $833,000. Furthermore, we have held our salary increases to an average of increase of 2.5% over the last 5 years. Some argue that further staff reductions are possible due to declining enrollment. However, general enrollment education staff have decreased by 16.8% over the past decade, closely mirroring the 17.8% decline in overall enrollment. Our total staff numbers have not decreased at the same rate because we've hired an additional 13 special education staff members to ensure special education students are also receiving a fair and appropriate education. To avoid an override, the committee would have had to cut an additional $1.6 million, or 20 to 25 staff members. Such drastic cuts would severely impact our programs and services, likely eliminating all AP courses and many, many electives, as well as creating very large class sizes. For the budget to pass, it needs approval from 2 out of the 3 member towns. It already passed in Topsfield at both their town meeting and election. If it passes in Boxford, Middleton would still be required to fund its share. If this question fails tonight or at the election next week, Middleton would either need to cut $467,000 from other town departments or hold a special town meeting and special town election to raise and appropriate those funds. I didn't say that to instill fear or persuade you to vote a certain way, but it's my responsibility to present the facts as they lie, and this is where we currently sit. Supporting the $467,000 override ensures Middleton students benefit from $2.4 million in services and prevents the need for an additional $1.6 million in cuts. I would also like to thank the Finance Committee and the Select Board for their positive recommendations on this article, and I respectfully ask for your support to maintain our commitment to providing an excellent education for all of our students. Thank you.
Any questions, comments, or discussion on this article?
I would like to speak. My name is Stacy Smith. I reside at 71 Mill Street, and I am a 12-year resident. I am here tonight to speak on behalf of the band kids. Over the past 3 years, I have had the pleasure of getting to know them.
Wait a minute, can I just clarify, this is the Masco?
Yes, this is for Masco. I'm just clarifying who I am and who I'm speaking on behalf of. I'm speaking on behalf of the Masco band kids.
Okay.
So this is a letter my daughter wrote. She's 14. She's a freshman. She wants to be a music teacher, not just a music teacher, a high school band teacher. Hello, Middleton voters. On behalf of the Masco Music Program, we would like to share our input on the 2025 Masco override. We are at risk of losing a high number of new teachers. This will have a major impact on every child attending Masconomet. The music program consists almost entirely of first-year teachers. If this override does not pass, there will be a massive impact on the program. We are dedicated and talented. We've committed our time and our energy to music. We care about what we do. Our ensembles perform at multiple events around the Tri-Town, such as your Christmas concerts for the Council on Aging, Memorial Day parades, high school graduation, holidays on the green, pep band for football games, and rallies to celebrate sports teams. All of this is made possible with the help of our teachers. In our time at Masco, we have had 5 different band teachers due to retirements and other life events. This number includes our current band teachers, Mr. Gallant and Mr. Cassidy. Last year, Masco considered no longer having a department head for the performing arts. Many parents and students stood up to explain why a performing arts department head is important and needed at Masco. At the time, we were led to believe that this would help to achieve level service, and courses would not and could not be offered due to contracts and budget would be added later. Jazz band was turned into a club instead of a class. Music theory offered every other year instead of every year. Classes limited, with the hope that next year more could be offered. In the music program alone, there were at least 7 new courses to choose for next year. However, with fewer teachers, there will not be enough staff to teach these classes. My friends and I are wondering what will happen to the students that signed up for these classes. Study halls have been eliminated from our schedules. So where will we end up? What will happen to student electives in sports? Many of us are not only in band and music, but
Can
take
you
part
wrap
in
up?
various clubs and sports as well.
Ms. Smith?
Yes,
your
I'll
time is-
I literally have 2 more sentences.
Thank
As of right now, there is no answer for that, and without our teachers, students will be left with incomplete schedules, no one to coach teams, and nothing to motivate. Please look past the dollar signs and look at what the town will lose. Thank you very much, the band kids.
Do you need my name and address again?
Sure.
Emily LeBlanc Peroni, 107 Flint Farm Road. So I am a high school math teacher in a neighboring district, and I can tell you from my own personal experience that everything I told you about the importance of class size at elementary school is just as important at the secondary level as well. So all of those statistics still hold true. When we're looking at this Masco budget and considering what could be at risk, there's going to be impacts across the board, and we're at risk of losing more than just our electives, but these courses that would set our graduates apart when they go on to their college or careers. And we do not want to set our students back and put them behind anywhere else. We want to set them forward so that when they're starting their adult lives, they are ready to face challenges head on and be successful. So please consider voting yes. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion on Article 8, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion passes by an overwhelming majority. We're going to fast forward through the warrant book now based on everything that was covered in the consent agenda. Okay, I think the exodus is almost over. Article 16 funds capital improvements, Finance Committee.
Michelle Cresta, 5 Ogden Lane. I move that the town appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds the sum of $4,936,995 to fund capital improvements with the specific expenditures and sources of funding as printed on page 26 of the town meeting warrant.
Any questions, comments, discussion on Article 16? Hearing none, I'm going to put this to a vote, and I would just inform you all that this requires a 2/3 majority for the motion to pass. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The article passes by an overwhelming majority, clearly more than 2/3, as I heard only one nay. So now we go to Article 20, under Citizens Petitions, Bylaws, Adoptions, and Real Property. Oh, did I skip 17? Oh, I'm sorry. How could I do that? Mr. Courier, you're not keeping me on my toes here. A Masco article. Article 17, funds Masco capital improvements. Is there a motion? Mr. Alexander.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Matt Alexander, 1 Mill Street, Masco School Committee. I move that the town appropriate the total sum of $230,652 from free cash for the town's share of the Masconomet Regional High School fiscal year 2026 capital needs.
Is there a second? Second, Mr. Erickson. Any questions or discussion, comments, etc., on this article in motion? You want to be heard?
Briefly.
Okay. Your motion, you begin.
Thank you, Madam. Just real quickly, I wanted to share with everybody what the funds are going towards this year. I'm sorry for the small font, but just to walk through it real quick, the first line is an HVAC electrification study. This was based on some feedback that we received from the town officials last year that they wanted to see electrification study performed on our aging HVAC system. The next one is a softball and track and field study. Our softball fields are out of Title IX compliance as well as out of ADA compliance. Our track is damaged and needs repair, so that's the second line. The third and fourth lines are elevator modernization funds. Our elevators are so old that you can no longer buy parts for them if they were to be go non-functional. So this is a modernization effort to bring them into a modern elevator so we could repair them if we needed to. And the last one is the press box lift. The press box lift hasn't been operational for a number of years. We recently closed the second floor where the press box is actually operated out of because it is not ADA compliant. And this would fund a new lift to be able to bring that press box at the stadium into compliance. Thank you, Moderator.
Thank you. Any questions, discussion, comments?
I just have a question, and hopefully it'll be quick.
Okay, can you just state your name and address so we have it on the record, Ms. Jones?
Nancy Jones, 70 North Main Street. And I just had a quick question, because some of these things are going to result in long-term spending. And I was just wondering where we were with the debt service at this time. Is there anything that is going to be paid off anytime soon, or how we are with the school, or whatever?
That's beyond the scope of this question.
Well, it's leading into it. I mean, these things, to do these repairs or whatever, we're doing a study. They're doing a feasibility study for the track field. That's going to incur debt service at some point in time. That's why I'm asking.
Can somebody is this a brief Masco-related response? Mr. Salzback, is this a brief Masco-related response? Masco-related. If it's not, we're not going to entertain it.
So at this point in time, we don't have any Masco-related debt. There are some ongoing town-side projects, this school and the library specifically, that will be dropping off in the near future, but nothing specifically related to Masco.
Does that help you? Thank you. Any other discussion? All right. This is a simple majority. All in favor of the motion on Article 17, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
No.
The article passes by an overwhelming majority. Now I think we go to Article 20, which contains the second and final recommendations from the Charter Review Committee.
Natalie Lovett, 16 Northwoods Road.
Ms. Lovett, is there a motion?
I move to amend the town charter as outlined in Appendix A and on file with the town clerk's office, and to authorize the select board to submit a home rule petition relative to those changes as printed in the town meeting warrant, and further to authorize the select board to accept ministerial changes to such amendments as may be required by the legislature.
Is there a second? Ms. Lovett, would you like to make a presentation?
Yes, just a quick kind of overview of the process that we've gone through to get here. The Charter Review Committee was initially established at the annual town meeting in 2021 as a citizen's petition. It is, the petition was to essentially give a comprehensive review of the town charter. The town charter is similar to the Constitution, but it's specifically for the town, so it sets the framework for how the town operates, essentially. Our committee of 7 have met for the last 4 years, once or twice a month. In 2022, we came to town meeting with some changes, some initial changes. They were mostly changes to remove anything that was no longer being used by the sections of the charter that were no longer applicable, and also to make gender changes. So now we are here today to give our final recommendation to town meeting for updates to the town charter. We've worked with the town council throughout the process. So in the beginning of the process, town council reviewed the town charter for us, gave us some recommendations on any changes that they thought that we should make, any parts of the charter that no longer were in compliance with law, because the charter was initially created in 1975. Things have changed drastically in government since that time. Then we've met with all of the town boards, various town departments. We've gotten their feedback on any operations that were detailed in the charter that are no longer working for them or just haven't become practice anymore, just after so many years of change. Then we ended with town council, again, took a look at the changes that we've made and what's presented before you today, and just let us know if everything is compliant with law. That's pretty much it.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, discussions on Article 20? Microphone 2. Can you speak into the microphone so everybody can hear you?
Hi, Rachel Nemeth of 29 North Main Street. I would first like to give a huge thank you to the Charter Review Committee for all of the amazing work that you all did. It's painstakingly detailed work, and there's a lot of expertise that went into it. As I worked my way through it, looking at all the changes that have been made, I would like to propose to town meeting just a few amendments for your consideration. So I'll go right to it. I hereby move that the pending motion on Article 20 be amended to delete the Charter Committee's recommendation on Section 232.
How many motions are you prepared to present this evening?
Just 3.
So your first motion, and town council has seen this. Repeat that motion, and do we have it on the screen? We do.
The whole thing?
Yes, just repeat it again.
I hereby move that the pending motion on Article 20 be amended to delete the Charter Committee's recommendation on Section 232.
Is there a second on this motion? Who is that seconded it?
My name is Carolyn Deckery, 54 North Main Street.
Is there any question? Would you like to be heard on your motion?
Yes, please.
Go right ahead.
So I just wanted to propose that, of course, town meeting will act where required by law. I think that's a given. But there may come a time when we want to act where we are permitted by law to act. And if we limit ourselves to acting only on what is required, then what if something comes up where we want to act and lawfully may act, but we can't because we put in our charter this particular wording? That's all.
Charter Committee, do you have a response?
I would defer to town council, but I think that that is the intent. It just is clarification of language that where town meeting is able to vote on any budget issues, that it will and can.
But it doesn't say able, it says only as required by law, so that excludes anything that's permissible by law, but it doesn't allow us to do so where permitted.
Just for clarification, town meeting does not, in fact, have the authority to vote on all financial matters. The modifying language was added by town council to provide transparency and clarity. And
My concern is that it limits it, though.
Our town council can add further information if that would assist. Sure.
Sure. The idea was that certain jurisdictional limits of town meeting exist, and to let the body know that those jurisdictional limits do exist. So, for example, an intermunicipal agreement is negotiated and approved by the select board. Employment agreements are negotiated and approved by the select board, and they don't come to town meeting for approval. They come for funding on occasion, depending upon what they say, but that's the idea of the article, or the provision.
Can I just, for assistance to the voters that are present, if you're following along and have your warrant book, page 31, the motion to amend can be found on page 31, section 232. And the language that charter review is recommending be added is in bold. And the motion to amend obviously is on the screen. I know it's hard to know what a motion is talking about when you don't have the original language in front of you. Any other comments, questions, or discussion on this motion to amend? So just to be clear, because I think this is a little bit of a confusing process, I had to try to wrap my head around it. Maybe you all are quicker at doing that than me. This is a motion to amend this one section in the proposed changes to the town charter. So we take this is like a microcosm of the macrocosm. So we start with this. So if there's no discussion at this point on this one small motion to amend, we vote on this and then we move on. So any other discussion on this motion to amend? Yes.
Hello, my name is Beth Andrews-Beck. I live at 134 Forest Street, Middleton. So my reading of this was that where required by law, the town meeting shall consider. It doesn't say what else the town meeting may do, like at other times. This was specifying that the town will, in fact, take up anything we're required by law to take up. So I don't necessarily share the concerns. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, I'm going to put the motion to amend this section to a vote. All in favor of the motion to amend, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. the motion to amend fails. So we're back to the original motion as made by Ms. Levitt. Would anybody else like to be heard at this point other than Ms. Nemeth? Ms. Nemeth. Ms. Nemeth?
Yes? Okay, so I hereby move that the pending motion on Article 20 be amended to delete the Charter Committee's recommendation on Section 542. I believe that if the planning board...
No.
Oh.
Is there a second on that motion?
Yes, I second it.
And you are?
Lisa Mershon,
Your address?
68 R Maple Street.
Did you get that? Can you spell your last name, please?
M-E-R-S as in sister, C-H-E-N.
Do you have that? Do you want to be heard on your motion?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
I believe that if the planning board is taking a vote on something, an alternate that's appointed to fill a vacant position should be free to vote, so that the original wording that says all matters, rather than the new wording that specifies zoning and subdivision matters, allows the member to vote as needed, including on the economic matters listed in the new 811, which is at the bottom of page 37, if anyone wanted to look at it. Where it would be unlawful for an alternate to vote, such as on reorganization of the board, then the chair simply would not appoint the alternate to fill in for that. So that's just what I wanted to propose with that one.
Ms. Fennerow.
So the idea, can you hear me? So the idea of this amendment is when courts look at charter provisions have the same effect as a general law, but pertaining just to the local municipality, right? So they're treated equal under the law. But what the courts do is they try to harmonize the two, and only when they're in direct conflict do they say one supersedes the other, right? And so the idea of this provision was to expand the authority of the alternate member who sits in the absence of a sitting member, a full member, because under Chapter 40A, which is the Zoning Enabling Act, an alternate member is permitted to vote. Whereas under subdivision control law, which is Chapter 41, Section 81L, they're not permitted to vote. So this was actually to clarify and create that conflict so Middleton's charter would supersede that general law, which restricts the power of the alternate. So that was the intention.
So are you saying that as written, it actually grants more power to the alternate?
It certainly clarifies that they do have the power to vote in that circumstance.
Oh, thank you.
Now that that's clarified, do you want to proceed with your motion?
Sure, why not? We'll just let everyone see what they think.
It expands the power of the alternates.
So I may vote opposite to my amendment, but we've come this far, so. So just to clarify, if I vote yay, am I supporting my own amendment or as it is?
If you vote yay, you're supporting your motion to amend. If you vote nay, you're not supporting your motion to amend.
My motion to amend? Okay, so a yay would be supporting my own amend, okay.
I'm going to put this to a vote. All in favor of the motion to amend, vote yay. All opposed, vote nay. Nay. The motion fails unanimously. Moving on. Ms. Nemeth, do you have anything else?
Yes, just one more. I hereby move that the pending motion on Article 20 be amended to delete the Charter Committee's recommendation on Section 10.1.1.
Could everybody quiet down, please? And that's on page 38 in the warrant book for those of you that are following along. Is there a second on this motion to amend? Yes, I second it. State your name again. State your name again. The person who made the second. If I don't hear a second, I'm going to pass the motion. Lisa Mershon, again. Do you want to be heard on your motion?
I would, thank you.
You're welcome.
So currently, as the charter is before this current Article 20 that we're looking at, it says, this charter may be replaced, revisited, or amended in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution and general law. That appears to be stricken and replaced with instructions about a committee being appointed by the town moderator to look at the charter every 10 years at least. And I have just a few thoughts about that. I think that a
Okay,
town-
you have less than 2
sorry.
minutes at this
Okay.
point. So
Okay.
you have about 60 seconds. Am I right? The timekeeper told me I was actually correct for a change.
Okay, I think I can do it. I believe that charters are intended to be semi-permanent. They are to the town what the U.S. Constitution is to our country. They are what the Massachusetts Constitution is to our state. So our charter is intended to be, I'm actually just going to read the introduction to our charter.
You have 30 seconds.
The charter guarantees the towns the power to control their own dictates through their own governmental processes. There appears to be increasing encroachment on the part of the Commonwealth into the internal workings of local government. The adoption of a charter acts as a shield or umbrella and helps defend the continuance of our own rules and regulations under which we have chosen to live. It is the ultimate authority for any community and is to the town what it is to the federal government. It is skeletal in nature and designed to be supplemented by bylaws, codes, and votes of town meetings. So I think it's important that it be amended as needed. I know that technology is rapidly changing, but even so, even though it was last amended decades ago, despite the rapid change in technology, we haven't really amended the technology in these new amendments. And I think it's
Could you
important
finish up, please?
to safeguard it.
Okay, thank you.
I guess that's it.
Mr. Currier, would you like to be heard on what the Charter Review Committee's thoughts were on adding this amendment?
Yes, thank you, Madam Moderator. Trevor Currier, 135 Forest Street. I am co-chair of the Charter Review Committee. So a part of this process was looking at what other towns and other municipalities are doing in their charters. And it's becoming increasingly more common for towns to put this stipulation in, that the charter be reviewed every 10 years, at least setting a date for it to be reviewed. It's not saying that changes need to be made every 10 years. It's simply saying there needs to be a review, because like we heard at the onset, our charter hadn't undergone a comprehensive review in over 50 years. So that's why it took 4 years to go through the whole charter and meet with stakeholders and do that whole process. By putting it to a deadline of every 10 years, hopefully that process doesn't take more than a year next time. So the Charter Review Committee is comfortable with our article as it sits.
Do you want to? I mean, if you think it would be helpful.
The other thing is the language that was eliminated doesn't mean that this body or the town can exercise its constitutional or statutory rights, right? Those exist in law anyway, and this does not work to prohibit those other methods of amending the charter, like a charter commission and all of those other ways. So they still exist. It's just a reminder to say, geez, it's been a long time since we've looked at that charter, and we don't want this to become a real beast again. So that was the idea behind this one as well.
Does anybody else wish to be heard on this motion to amend 10-1-1? All right, we're going to put this motion to amend 10-1-1 to the motion to amend the motion to a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Nay. The motion to amend fails by an overwhelming majority. Now, we're going to go back to the original motion made by Ms. Lovett. Could we have that on the screen? Thank you, Ms. Nemeth. So the pending motion at this point is the one made by Ms. Lovett, and that is the overall motion to amend the charter. Does anybody want to be heard on the comprehensive amendments to the charter, the package? Ms. Sloan.
Allison Sloan, 82 Fuller Pond Road. I want to thank the Charter Committee. This is insane work, and I really appreciate what they've done. I just had a question. If somebody could explain a little bit more about 341 and 343 and explain to me what they actually intend to, what the amendment intends.
The recall sections, is that what you're asking about?
I can speak to that. So Trevor Currier, 135 Forest Street, again. So when looking at our recall provision and comparing it to with a lot of other communities, ours was very, I'd say, unattainable for an average voter. So it reduces the percentage of signatures required to initiate a recall petition, and then it also reduces the voter turnout threshold. So if someone had been recalled by a majority, but there was not a 30% voter threshold, that election wouldn't count. That person wouldn't be recalled. And so when you're looking at our municipal elections, and especially special election voter turnouts, they're nowhere near that 30%. So we wanted to make sure this process was attainable for voters to actually use.
Any other comments? All right, let's put it to a vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Congratulations to the Charter Review Committee after 4 long years. Yes, you can. All right, we should be able to move quickly through the remaining articles. Is there a motion on Article 21?
Anthony DiGregorio, 5 4th Ave, Chair of the Planning Board. I move and the Planning Board unanimously recommends to update our floodplain zoning bylaw as outlined in Appendix B and on file in the Town Clerk's office, or take any other action relative thereto.
Is there a second? Mr. Leary seconded. This motion requires a 2/3 majority vote to pass. Is there any discussion on this motion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Is there a nay? No, she made a mistake. She covered it. The motion passes unanimously. Article 22 authorizes the Select Board to dispose of the police station property located at 65 North Main Street. Is there a motion? Debbie?
Debbie's in the book.
Oh.
Costa Prentakis Vera Road. I move to authorize the Select Board to dispose of real property at 65 North Main Street, otherwise known as the police station, as shown on the assessor's map as parcel 17, lot 96, at terms and conditions determined by the Select Board to be in the best interest of the town.
Is there a second? Brian Cresta, second. That was you, right, Brian? This motion requires a 2/3 majority vote. Any questions or discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Article 23 authorizes the Select Board to convey a conservation restriction on a parcel of land located at the new municipal complex. Is there a motion?
Costa Prentakis Vera Road again. I move to authorize the Select Board to convey the conservation restriction for a certain parcel of land at 105 South Main Street, Lot 184, on Middleton Assessors Map 29, consisting of 51.576 acres more or less, and to authorize the Select Board to convey and accept easements relative thereto.
Is there a second?
Second.
Who? Debbie Carboni seconded that. Deb, did you second that?
I got Bill.
Oh, Bill? I don't care, pick one. This is another 2/3 majority vote. Any questions, comments, discussion on this article or motion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. This motion passes unanimously. I have one more motion. Is there a motion to dissolve? Wait a minute, Mr. Crest. Is there a second? All in favor?